The most powerful thing you can do for your partner's arousal doesn't happen in the bedroom. It doesn't require anything you don't already have. It costs nothing, and it can begin hours before you ever get close to each other. What I'm about to teach you today is something most men discover far too late, and the ones who learn it tell me it changed their relationship entirely. Not because it is complicated, not because it requires a new skill set or a personality transplant or anything outside of what you are already capable of, but because it works directly on the part of your partner's body that controls everything else about her arousal, her mind. Most men over 60 have been initiating intimacy the same way for decades. A touch, a look, a physical approach that says, "I want you." And while that approach carries love and genuine desire, it has, for many women at this stage of life, quietly lost the power it once had to move her from wherever she is emotionally into a place of genuine arousal and openness. Today, I am going to give you something different. A tool, a specific, research-backed, psychologically grounded tool that has the power to reach your partner where she actually lives, in her mind, in her emotional world, in the deep psychological territory that physical touch alone can no longer access the way it once could. That tool is your voice, and today I am teaching you exactly how to use it. Welcome back to the channel. If you are joining us for the first time, my name is Dr. Julia Rhodes. I am a certified men's sex therapist with over a decade of clinical experience working with men and couples across all stages of life. Before we go any further, and I promise this gets both more scientific and more practical than you might expect, I want to take just one moment. If you are a man over 60 who wants to genuinely understand the woman in his life, her psychology, her arousal, her emotional world, and who wants to show up for her in ways that are specific, informed, and genuinely effective, this channel was created for you. Every single week, I release content designed to give men exactly this kind of knowledge, the kind that most people are too uncomfortable to discuss openly, but that makes an immediate and measurable difference to the quality of intimate relationships. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on your notifications, because this conversation, the one we are having today, is one of many that this channel has been building toward. Subscribe. Let's continue. Why words are her most powerful arousal trigger. Let me begin with a framework that I consider one of the most important concepts in modern sexual psychology, and one that every man over 60 deserves to understand. Dr. Emily Nagoski, one of the world's leading researchers in female sexuality, describes human sexual arousal through what she calls the dual control model. And understanding this model is the key to understanding why words work the way they do on your partner's arousal. The dual control model proposes that every person has two neurological systems governing their sexual response. The first is the sexual excitation system, or accelerator. This system responds to sexually relevant stimuli and sends signals that move a person toward arousal. The second is the sexual inhibition system, or brake. This system scans constantly for reasons not to be aroused: threats, anxiety, stress, emotional disconnection, self-consciousness. And when it finds them, it applies the brake regardless of what the accelerator is doing. Here is why this matters so profoundly for men over 60 specifically. In younger women, the accelerator tends to be more sensitive and the brake less easily triggered. Physical touch, proximity, and visual stimulation can override a moderately engaged brake. But as women age, and particularly as they move through and beyond menopause, the brake becomes more sensitive. The conditions required for arousal narrow: stress, emotional disconnection, self-consciousness about the body, unresolved tension in the relationship. All of these engage the brake more readily and more powerfully than they did in younger years. What does this mean for the man who wants to initiate intimacy? It means that physical approaches to arousal, touching, proximity, physical initiation, are pressing the accelerator. But if the brake is engaged, the accelerator will not move her. The key is not to press the accelerator harder. The key is to release the brake first. And here is where verbal intimacy becomes extraordinary. Words, the right words, delivered at the right time with the right intention, are one of the most powerful brake-releasing tools available. Words that create emotional safety release the anxiety that engages the brake. Words that communicate genuine desire release the self-consciousness. Words that make her feel seen, valued, and wanted as a specific, particular, irreplaceable person release the emotional distance that so often sits between where she is and where she needs to be for arousal to be genuinely possible. Before you touch her, reach her mind. That is the foundational principle of everything I am teaching you today. The brain is her primary sexual organ. Let me take the science one level deeper, because understanding what is happening in her brain when the right words reach her is what transforms this from a technique into a genuine practice of intimate intelligence. Neuroscience has established something that challenges almost everything popular culture has said about the difference between male and female arousal. For most women, mental and emotional engagement does not accompany physical arousal. It precedes and drives it. Studies published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine have shown that women's genital response and subjective arousal are far more tightly linked to psychological context than men's. What this means in practice is that a woman can be physically stimulated, touched in all the right places, in all the right ways, and experience minimal arousal if the psychological context is wrong. And conversely, the right psychological context, created entirely through words, tone, and emotional presence, can produce genuine physical arousal before any physical touch has occurred at all. The brain is her primary sexual organ, and your voice is the most direct route to it. Here is the neuroscience that makes this so compelling. Research confirms that verbal expressions of desire, admiration, and emotional connection trigger the release of oxytocin in women, the bonding hormone that is directly linked to trust, emotional safety, and receptivity to physical intimacy. This is not metaphor. This is documented endocrinology. When you tell her, genuinely, specifically, from a place of real feeling, that you desire her, that you find her beautiful, that she is wanted by you in this specific moment, her brain releases a hormone that literally opens the neurological pathways to arousal. Your words are biochemical events in her body. There is more. Research from the University of Sussex and other institutions studying the neuroscience of the human voice has found that tone, pace, proximity, and vocal timbre activate neurological arousal responses independent of the content of the words being spoken. The sound of a voice that is low, slow, warm, and close to the ear activates arousal pathways in ways that operate below conscious processing. What this means is that how you speak matters as much as what you say. A sentence delivered in a flat, matter-of-fact tone produces a completely different neurological response than the same sentence delivered slowly, quietly, warmly, close to her ear, with genuine desire in your voice. You already have everything this requires. You have a voice, you have genuine feelings for this woman, you have specific things you find beautiful and desirable about her. What most men lack is not the raw material. It is the permission, the understanding, and the specific framework for using what they already have. Today, I am giving you all three. what dirty talk actually means after 60. Before we go any further, I need to address the phrase that is sitting in the title of this video, and that may have been sitting uncomfortably in the back of your mind since you pressed play. Dirty talk. For many men over 60, those two words conjure a very specific image, something performative, something that belongs in a different kind of relationship or a different kind of intimacy than the one they have built over years or decades with their partner, something that would sound ridiculous coming from them, something their partner would find strange, surprising, or off-putting rather than arousing. I want to dismantle that image completely because it is standing between you and one of the most powerful, intimate tools available to you. Here is my clinical definition of dirty talk for men and women over 60 in long-term relationships. Dirty talk is any verbal expression that moves your partner from wherever she is emotionally and psychologically toward a state of arousal, openness, and desire. That is it. That is the entire definition. It does not require explicit language. It does not require performance. It does not require anything that feels foreign to who you are. It requires only genuine intention, the authentic, specific, emotionally present expression of desire and connection in words. For a woman in a long-term relationship, the most arousing words are often not the most explicit ones. They are the most specific ones, the ones that tell her with precision and genuine feeling that she has been seen, that she is wanted, that the particular, irreplaceable, complicated, beautiful person she is has not been taken for granted or lost behind the routine of shared life. Research specifically focused on women over 60 confirms this clearly. Studies from the AARP Sexuality in Midlife and Beyond survey and from the Journal of Women's Health consistently show that emotional intimacy, feeling desired, and verbal communication of appreciation rank higher than any physical factor in determining sexual satisfaction for women in this demographic. They do not want scripts, they want truth. And the truth you already carry, your genuine desire for her, your specific appreciation of who she is, your real feelings about her body and her presence and the life you have built together, is the most powerful dirty talk available to you. What I am going to teach you now is simply how to say it. The 3 levels of verbal intimacy. Let me give you a framework that I use with the couples in my practice, one that takes the overwhelming ambiguity out of verbal intimacy and replaces it with a clear, progressive, entirely natural structure. I call it the 3 levels of verbal intimacy. Each level is distinct in its intensity and its proximity to explicit arousal, but all 3 are essential, and they build on each other in a way that makes the whole far more powerful than any one level alone. Level 1, emotional desire. This is the foundation, the bedrock, the level that makes everything else possible. Level 1 verbal intimacy is the expression of emotional desire, the genuine, specific communication that she is seen, valued, and wanted as a whole person, not as a body, not as a partner in routine, as the specific, irreplaceable woman she is. This sounds like telling her something specific you have noticed about her today, referencing something she said last week that you are still thinking about, telling her out of nowhere, in the middle of an ordinary moment, that you are grateful she is yours, looking at her across the room and saying quietly and without agenda, "You are beautiful." These are not warm-up moves. For women over 60, these expressions are primary arousal. They press the accelerator and release the brake simultaneously. Deliver level 1 consistently, daily, genuinely, and you will have already done more for her arousal than most men accomplish with everything that comes after. Level 2, physical appreciation. Level 2 introduces the body, but with the same specificity and genuine feeling that characterizes Level 1. This is the verbal expression of physical desire, not generic compliments, not performed declarations. The genuine, precise articulation of what you find physically beautiful and desirable about her. Tell her what you notice, the specific way she looks right now, something about her body that you find beautiful that she might not expect you to name, something physical you love about her that she is probably self-conscious about. This level is extraordinarily powerful for women over 60 who are navigating the complex terrain of an aging body image. Many women in this demographic carry a quiet, persistent belief that their changed body is less desirable than it once was. A specific, genuine, unprompted expression of physical desire from the man they love cuts through that belief with a precision that nothing else can match. It also activates oxytocin, physically, measurably. The brain hears genuine desire and releases the chemistry of receptivity. Level 3, explicit verbal desire. This is the level most people think of when they hear the phrase dirty talk, and it is genuinely powerful, but only when it rests on the foundation of levels 1 and 2. Level 3 is the explicit, specific expression of what you want, what you intend, what you are going to do, what you want her to do, what the experience between you is going to feel like. The specific language matters less than the intention and the genuineness behind it. Whatever words feel natural to you, whatever register feels authentic to your voice and your relationship, is the right language. The goal is not to sound like something you have seen or heard elsewhere. The goal is to use your own genuine desire, spoken plainly and directly, to create in her mind the vivid, specific, emotionally safe picture of intimacy that moves her body from neutral to fully engaged. Level 3, without levels 1 and 2, is noise. With them, it is the most direct route to her arousal that exists. Build the foundation first, then speak from it. How to start the hours before. Here is the most counterintuitive and most immediately actionable thing I am going to teach you today. The most powerful verbal intimacy does not happen in the bedroom. It happens hours before you ever get there. Research on female arousal, particularly in long-term relationships and particularly in women over 60, consistently confirms that what happens in the hours leading up to intimacy is just as significant as what happens during it. Because her arousal does not begin when physical intimacy begins. It begins when the psychological and emotional conditions for arousal are first created. And those conditions are created entirely through your words and your attention long before any physical approach occurs. Here is what this looks like in practice. During the day, in a text message, in a quiet moment between the two of you, at a point completely disconnected from any obvious intimate context, tell her something. Something specific, something genuine, something that communicates that she has been in your mind. Not, I want you tonight. That is an announcement. It can feel like a request she now has to manage. It engages the brake rather than releasing it. But I was thinking about you earlier today, and I just wanted you to know you looked beautiful this morning. That is a gift. It asks nothing. It requires no response. It simply delivers a piece of genuine feeling into her day and leaves it there to work on her psychology quietly over hours. Or, I have been thinking about being close to you tonight. That specific quality of warmth and intention, combined with the fact that it arrives hours before any physical approach, gives her mind the time and space to move toward desire at her own pace. Rather than being initiated into arousal, she is invited toward it. The difference between those two experiences, for a woman over 60 whose desire is primarily responsive rather than spontaneous, is the difference between a door being pushed and a door being opened from the inside. As the day progresses, build on what you have started. In the evening, create real connection before you attempt physical closeness. Put the phone away. Look at her. Actually at her. Have a conversation that is about her world, what she is thinking, what she is feeling, what has been on her mind. Be genuinely present. By the time physical intimacy begins, the psychological conditions for her arousal have already been building for hours. The brake is already releasing. The accelerator is already engaged. And what begins in the bedroom is the continuation of something, not the start of it. That shift from starting in the bedroom to starting hours before is one of the most transformative changes a man over 60 can make to his intimate life, and it costs nothing except genuine attention. What to say in the moment. Let me now give you the practical framework for verbal intimacy in the intimate moment itself. This is where most men feel the most uncertain, the most self-conscious, the most afraid of sounding wrong or ridiculous or artificial. So I want to be very specific here and very concrete. Start with what is true. Whatever you genuinely feel in this moment, whatever you genuinely see, genuinely want, genuinely appreciate, say that. Not a performance, not a line borrowed from somewhere else. The specific truth of your experience in this moment with this woman. If you find her beautiful right now, tell her in specific terms, not "you look great," but "you are so beautiful to me right now." If you have been thinking about this moment, tell her in real terms, not "I want you," but the specific, vivid, genuine version of that wanting. If something about her body moves you, name it, specifically, quietly, with the full weight of your genuine feeling behind it. Use her name. This sounds simple. It is extraordinarily powerful. Research on auditory arousal and personal identity confirms that hearing one's own name spoken in a warm, intimate, deliberate context activates a neurological response of immediacy and personal connection unlike any other stimulus. Her name, spoken slowly, quietly, with genuine desire, close to her ear, is among the most potent verbal intimacy tools available to you. Use it, specifically, in moments of genuine connection. Match your voice to the moment. Remember what we covered about vocal neuroscience. The tone, pace, and proximity of your voice are arousal triggers independent of your words. In intimate moments, your voice should be low, slow, warm, close. Never loud, never hurried, never performative. Think of the difference between speaking to fill silence and speaking to be heard. In intimate moments, every word should be the latter, each one chosen, each one meaning something. Ask her. One of the most underused and most powerful verbal intimacy tools is the intimate question. Not, "Is this okay?" That is anxious. That introduces doubt and performance anxiety into the space. But tell me what feels good. Or what do you want right now? Or simply, I want to know you completely. These questions communicate three things simultaneously: that you are present, that her experience is your priority, and that the intimacy between you is a conversation rather than a performance. For women over 60, that combination is deeply, genuinely arousing. Stay continuous. Verbal intimacy in an intimate moment is not a single sentence delivered and then abandoned. It is a continuous, evolving, genuine thread of connection. Words and silence in rhythm. Expression and presence alternating. Not a monologue, not a performance, a living expression of genuine desire that moves and breathes alongside the physical intimacy itself. Let your words be as present as your hands, as intentional as your touch, as genuine as your love. The mistakes that kill the mood instantly. Let me name the mistakes, because knowing what not to say is just as important as knowing what to say. Mistake 1. Generic compliments. Telling her she looks nice or she is beautiful in a tone that suggests it is something you say rather than something you feel communicates the opposite of what you intend. It tells her she is being managed rather than genuinely desired. Be specific. Be real. Generic language in intimate contexts produces generic results. Mistake 2. Announcements instead of invitations. "I want sex tonight" is an announcement. It puts pressure on her and gives her a request to manage rather than an invitation to consider. Replace announcements with expressions of genuine feeling that require nothing from her, and watch how differently she receives them. Mistake 3. Borrowed language. Words that feel foreign to your voice, language that does not sound like you, that you have lifted from somewhere else and are now delivering awkwardly, will produce discomfort rather than arousal, for both of you. Authenticity is the single most important quality of verbal intimacy. If a word or phrase does not feel natural in your mouth, do not say it. Find the version that does. Mistake 4. Timing without foundation. Attempting level 3 verbal intimacy without having built levels 1 and 2 is the most common mistake I see. Explicit verbal desire without emotional foundation lands not as arousing, but as jarring. Build the foundation every day. Then the explicit expression of desire lands on fertile ground rather than empty air. Mistake 5. Silence as a default. The most pervasive and most damaging mistake is simply saying nothing, allowing entire intimate experiences to pass without a single genuine verbal expression of desire, appreciation, or presence. Many men have been silent in this way for so long that silence has become the default register of their intimate life. Breaking that silence, gently, genuinely, consistently, is the single most transformative thing available to them. Start talking. She has been waiting longer than you know. If today's video gave you something real, a new understanding of her psychology, a new tool for your intimate life, a permission you did not have before, then please do one thing right now. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and share this video with a man who needs it, because the silence most men carry around verbal intimacy is costing real couples real closeness every single day. Every week on this channel, I bring you exactly this kind of content, research-backed, clinically grounded, and specifically designed for men over 60 who refuse to accept that the best years of their intimate lives are behind them. Leave me a comment below. Tell me, which part of today's video gave you the most? Which level of verbal intimacy are you going to start with tonight? I read every single comment, and your response shapes every video I create. This channel is for you, every week, without exception. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes. I'll see you in the next one.